Hold on, I want to record. Okay, there we are. And as I'm speaking and talking, if you have any questions, I may not see you, so you may have to put it in the chat, but just stop me, especially when we start getting into the calculations, so that I can make it very, very simple for you. And we are going to start. It's 3:05. All right.
I do have a quick question. You said the bank statement was in the emails?
I'm listening.
The bank statement, you said it was in the emails?
No, so if you go to the chat in Zoom right now, I put it in the chat for Zoom because it was something that I just posted. Do you see it in the chat?
I'm clicking on the file. Let me see if I can get it.
Okay. And I'll have it on the screen. So I'll be working from it on the screen. So you don't necessarily have to have, I mean, it's something I can send after if you want to do like more practice, but it's here.
No. Yeah, there's nothing in the chat on my side.
No?
No worries. I mean, I can just follow along and look at it later.
Okay, of course. And if there's anything, I'll definitely, I'll send it. Alrighty, so let me minimize you guys so I can see. So as, I don't know if you know, but I'm a teacher. So in the teaching world, we have this SWBAT, which is students will be able to. So the impetus for this course is to create some awareness around small businesses creating their own financial statements. And the reason why that's so important is because if you're able to track your cash flow and the flow of money in and out your business, you'll be able to make much more informed decisions when it comes down to all aspects of the health, the financial health of your business. So we'll be going over some basic accounting principles that even if you're not an accountant, you should know these terms and how to calculate them. Also, we'll be talking about the balance sheet, the income statement, and then the cash flow statement. Now, as I was preparing, initially I said that we would go through all three, but I feel like for this course, the basics would be the cash flow statement and then the income statement. And then when we're talking about the balance sheet, it's very, very involved. So that's something we can reconvene and talk about in March. So those will be our goals. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm. Oh, somebody is is that
me?
Yeah, I don't know how to not do that. Okay, so maybe, see, this is all new to me. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can.
I've never seen that before.
Okay, let's see. If I reset.
Yeah.
I don't know why I am able to see, or we're able to see everyone's thing. You know what? We're gonna keep it moving.
Yeah, let's
see here. I can't even delete it. Okay, so we'll start with the 5 numbers you should know when it comes down to the basics of financing, and then how to calculate them. Then we'll go into the balance sheet, which is a very quick overview, just what it looks like. And then we'll dive deep into the income statements and then the cash flow statements. And for those two, we'll be using the sample bank statement in order to complete those two. Then we'll talk about this idea of having multiple bank accounts and no commingling and what that means. And of course, sorry? Okay, and then we'll go into practices you should be doing weekly, monthly, and daily when it comes to your business financing. I keep saying finances, but finances. And then quick tips for tax season, because for most people, everyone is just, trying to get their receipts together, trying to get all of their invoicing together to turn over to their accountant, or if they're doing their taxes themselves. So this month is basically the time that we're putting everything together to file for taxes for 2020. So I'll give you some quick tips for that. All right, so my why. So as most small business owners, the people that I've talked to, I call them my frienders, there's always been this overarching sentiment that, you know, I don't know too much about the money. I'm a creative. I don't spend too much time understanding financial management. And me being a math teacher, as well as an entrepreneur, math has always been just ingrained into my daily practice. So I had a business prior to this as an event planner, and I spent a lot of money in really ridiculous ways. So whenever money would come in, it would go right back out, but I would never track it. So I was never able to see how much I was making versus what my losses were, nothing. So when I started Petite Seat 6 years ago, I said, we're not doing this again. I am going to start from the very beginning with tracking the cash flow and seeing how profitable I am, and I was going to pay myself. And that's a huge part of this whole financial management is you really can't pay yourself and say you're a solvent business if you cannot track the flow of your money. So knowing how to handle your finances properly will give your business a fighting chance to grow and survive. So that's always the overarching goal, is to make sure that year 5, year 10, you're still in business and you're still able to see a profit. And even though this year was very, very difficult, there was still some gains as far as financials were concerned if you're able to track it. All right, so these are the 5 numbers you should know. The first one is your gross revenue. Number 2 is expenses. 3 is your net profit. 4, cash flow. 5 is your break-even point. Now, on the next slide, I'll go over exactly what each of those 5 mean. Oops. Okay, so your gross revenue. So this is when you put all the money in the pot that you've received from your sales, and whatever you receive, that's what we're calling gross revenue. So it's everything that you've accumulated, everything that you've made, all payments that you've received. Your expenses are anything that you have taken directly from your gross revenue out of your pocket to pay for some kind of cost of goods, services, utilities. Anything that falls under a negative from your gross revenue would be an expense. Your net profit is what's left after you take the revenue, after you take the expenses from your gross revenue. So what we usually call that is your bottom line. So once you subtract all of your expenses from your revenue, your bottom line is your net profit. Now, I'm going to pause right there because oftentimes people will have a business account and they will have all of the money in their savings, their checking account for their business, and think that that is your net profit. And they never consider what's coming in and out on a daily basis. So you can't just simply look at your bank account statement and think that that is your profit or your net profit. There are some calculations involved. All right, any questions so far? Okie doke. So the next thing is your cash flow. So your cash flow is the difference between your cash that you have at the beginning of, let's say, the month, because it's an accounting period, we're just going to call it the month. So it's the cash you have at the beginning of the month compared to what you have at the end. So if you're looking at your bank statement and you started the month with, say, on day 1 of, let's say, December 1st, you had $1,000. And you have all of the expenses coming in and out. You have your invoices and payments coming in and out from Venmo, from Cash App, from wherever. At the end of the month, on the 31st, whatever you have in there for that period, that will be your cash flow. So when we look at the cash flow statement, you're able to track your deductions, your revenue, everything in and out in a very organized manner. So that would be what we consider cash flow. Now, your break-even point. So when you have all of your revenue comes in and it's equal to the number of expenses, that is the point where you can say to yourself, okay, I have made a profit, or I have the same amount or the equal amount of expenses as I do revenue. So now I'm starting to see a profit. That's my profitability. Most times in business, if we're not able to track it, every month we're always at a negative. So we really don't understand the break-even point because we're not tracking it. We're not tracking our cash flow. So the point of doing all of this is to be able to see your profitability at the end of each month. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. So this was a quick vocabulary lesson, and this is something that I had to teach myself, because oftentimes we use wording that we think means one thing, but really it doesn't. So I actually took notes on this. So we're gonna start with, at the very top, we see that when we say the word sale, it's the same thing as revenue. So it's the money that we are making that's coming in that their client is paying us. So those two are synonymous with each other. We can interchange those two words. Profit, earnings, income, those are words that we can also interchange. Now, when we're talking about revenue and income, it doesn't mean the same thing. So I'll give examples of what I mean after I go through the slide, so I can give you a better understanding of why I'm saying what I'm saying. When we're talking about costs are different from expenses, and expenses are different from expenditures. Profit is different from cash. And the basic accounting business principle that we will look at, especially when we're talking about the balance sheet, is whatever you have, which is your assets. Now, assets could be your computer, it could be whatever inventory you have, minus your liability. So whatever you owe, if you have a credit card statement, if you owe on purchasing some equipment that you took a loan on. So it's whatever you have minus what you owe, and it's equal to the worth or the value to you, the owner of the business. So I'm gonna go to, where are we? I'm gonna pause this for real quick, because this is something that I wanna break down before we get to, where are we? Sorry guys, I'm trying to figure out where the chat went. And I think I have too many things on my computer.
It should pop up if you click on Zoom.
Oh, okay. This comes up. Oh, maybe okay, here we are, never mind. But how do I see you guys? Oh gosh. Here we are, chat. All right, so I'm just gonna type in, give you examples of cost versus expenses. So let's say I am a stationary person, and whatever it is, say if I'm making a stationary suite for someone, so I'm including paper, I'm including the glue dots, I'm including anything that I need to create that stationary suite, those would be considered cost. So the cost to do business. Now, when I'm talking about expenses, I'm speaking specifically about the money that is spent to develop that invitation, to sell it, and to market that invitation. So if you're thinking about expenses, it's the money spent to generate your revenue. And it's something that occurs on a regular basis. So it could be your utilities, it could be your payroll, it could be marketing, it could be your rent. So that would be an expense. Now, when I'm speaking about cost, it's usually a one-time payment. So it's for that one time you bought an acrylic sheet, or that one time you went on Amazon and purchased some miscellaneous item. So those would be the differences between a cost and an expense. Now, when we talk about expenditures, so both a cost and an expense is an expenditure. So, or they become an expenditure when money is spent on another vendor. So for instance, if you are, again, a stationery designer, and you are buying your raw materials from another vendor, then it becomes an expenditure. And of course, these are all overarching, and these are something that we see often when people talk about the cost of something versus I have an expense on something, when it's truly a cost. But both of those fall under the idea of being an expenditure. And expenses are something, or the costs you incur to earn revenue. So I'm gonna write that in the chat. So expenses are costs you incur to earn revenue. Oops. And it's a short term. Like I said, it's that short term buying something very quickly to help you create your final product on Amazon or from an outside vendor. Now, when we talk about expenditures, there are 4 types of cost that would fall under expenditure. So the first one is when you're paying off debt. So you have that credit card bill that you have to pay off. That wouldn't be a cost. It would be an expenditure or one type of expenditure. The next type of expenditure would be capital spending. So if you were to do some kind of, you got a loan payout, especially like this PPP that's very popular now, and you spent that money that you received from a loan payment, that would be an expenditure. Or the second type. The third type would be when you are distributing, sorry, I'm about to spell this wrong, funds to owners. So this is not so much something that really applies to small businesses. This is more for larger companies that have shareholders, and they have people that they are the owners are getting paid individually. But typically when you have a sole proprietorship or just 1 or 2 business owners, however the funds, however you're paying the owners, that will be considered an expenditure. And then the final one, which is what we spoke about, is paying your expenses. And that's how we classify expenditures. Now, the next relationship is cash versus profit. So this is what I gave you, the example of the bank statement. So yes, in your bank statement, you can't simply just look at it and tell if something is profit or not. So cash is how much, a business earns. So how much you earn for whatever your service is. And then your profit is the money that's left over after your expenses are paid. So those are the differences between cash and profit. All right, so let's go back to my slideshow. Oops. I'm gonna skip around a little bit because I just want to make sure that this is in as I'm doing this stream of consciousness and start to do the work. So this is the idea, the definition of an income statement. So the income statement directly shows whether the business has a net profit or a net loss. In sum, it tells all of the revenue subtracted by all of the expenses. And as I said before, typically this is done on a monthly basis. So at the beginning and the end of each month, you are creating this income statement. So a company's net income for an accounting period is measured as follows. So it's whatever you have coming in, your net income. So your revenues minus your expenses, plus your gains minus your losses. And I'll break that down a little bit better. So your income is your sales minus your cost plus your expenses. So I don't know how many of you guys work with a CPA or an accountant, but one of the line items on Schedule C when you're doing your taxes as a business is the cost of goods. So as you are working throughout the year and you're buying things, say at Michael's or on Amazon, just random places, you need to keep track of how much you're spending in order to create your product, because that is tax deductible. And oftentimes people just account for how much the person paid, like the invoice, and they don't consider the cost that it cost them to create the product. So as you're moving forward, be mindful of how much you're spending in order to create your final product, because that is something that's tax deductible. The income statement gives the overall, it tells the overall profitability of a company. So if I'm coming in and I want to see if your business makes a profit and is something that I want to invest in, the income statement is what I would show the investor. However, it doesn't show the full picture of the business. Only the balance sheet will show that, because the balance sheet will show your assets, your liabilities, and then the equity, or how much it's worth. Now, the cash flow statement is the next statement that shows how the cash is moving in and out for a time period. So these are the basic workup of your income statement. And I'm gonna pause right here because I wanna go to the bank account statement. All right, so we're gonna start the work. So this is my, can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my bank account statement. And this is something that you should have, you know, a separate bank account for your business. And at the end of each month, they're giving you the opening balance where you started. So that's the 1155.60. Then it's giving you the closing balance. So 2677.7. So just looking at those two numbers, do I have a net profit or a net loss?
Profit.
Exactly. Now, how do you know that?
Your closing balance is higher than your opening balance.
That's it. Very simple. So where you ended is more than what you started with. So that's the first thing. So I'm just gonna relay what I do each month. So I look at my bank statement at the last day of each month, and I start to categorize things. So if you see here, I'm gonna just type on this. Let me choose another color so you guys can see where I'm writing. Cash app payment from this Tutu Fabulous. So this was a paid invoice. So this is somebody that, a client who paid me money. And I'm just putting it there. This was like earned income. Next, I have PayPal Digital. So this is someone who paid for a digital product. So I'm just calling this digital. And this will make sense in a few minutes why I'm categorizing everything. So go ahead. Oh,
I was going to ask about the digital, but that is income.
Yes,
the
that's
2350.
income.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is, you know how they have, you know, everyone right now is on this whole, everyone needs to have multiple streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do I have the rental sales, right? When somebody pays me for rental sales, I also have the digital file. So that will be another stream of income. Now I went to UPS and I paid to have something shipped. So I categorize that as postage. AliExpress payment. So this is my van payment. This is automobile. So this is also a deduction, but this is automobile. Gas, that is me paying gas. Google Suite, this is, sometimes I label it as advertising, and then other times, you know, let's just keep it consistent. I'm calling this advertising because my Google Suite includes my email address. It includes when I send my mail, my email marketing, and that's what I pay $12 a month. Easy Pass is another expense, but I'm putting this in parking and tolls. Now, these labels that I'm giving are labels that are in the Schedule C. So when you're filing your business taxes, these are the labels that you typically see that are deductions for your expenses. So I'm just going off of memory, but out in this presentation, there's a list of the different deductions. And so that's all I'm doing. Now, Square Inc. rental. So this was a paid invoice for the rentals. Videography, so this is advertising. So this is me paying someone to probably do a promo video. actually, this should be a debit. You see, that was a mistake, but that's what it is. And then Square Ink table. So this is another source of income. So this is when we build tables for people. And that is what we're seeing as another invoice paid.
Oneida,
I'm listening.
do you have a form of software that like tracks certain things to make it a little easier?
So yes, and it's in the presentation. So most people use SmartBook. Is it SmartBooks?
QuickBooks?
There you go.
Okay.
QuickBooks.
Okay.
And so what I know is very common is that QuickBooks allows you to do invoicing. So it's all inclusive. So I actually use Square to do my invoicing, and I have not yet gone to the digital side of keeping track of this. Like I do all of this by hand. With QuickBooks, you're able to do everything and label it and do everything digitally. And it's 1, 2, 3. So at the end of each month, it'll give you an expense report, no problem. But I'm old school. I like paper and pencil. So this is how I do it. And I guess the impetus for me was because I didn't understand how to do it until I did it by hand. Now, because as I'm speaking, this is what, January 5th, and I haven't even started to do this for 2020. Like I'm way behind. I think I stopped doing my income statements at around maybe July, because at that point.
So wait.
Sure.
Just because I'm kind of in that same boat, because you haven't done it for 2020, your process is to what? Go through your bank statement and be like, put that here, put that here, put that here, put that here. Okay. And then when your tax guy says, Oneida, do you absolutely 100% need receipts? Or can you say gas
He doesn't want receipts. All he wants is, let me see if I can pull it up on the slideshow. He just wants that income statement for each month. So he just wants to know how you categorized it, how much for the year did you spend on advertising, whatever that number is. He wants to know how much for the year you spent on parking and tolls, whatever that number is. He wants one number for all of the income earned. So yes, I'm categorizing it here, but that's just for me. For him, he just wants to know what was your total revenue for the year. So the reason why it's important to do this for yourself each month is because in the event that it's very unlikely, but if you get audited, you have to track where the money is, right? So you can just pull up your statement. So say if your revenue was $68,000 for the year, you have to show, if you were audited, have to show how you arrived at that number, especially if you don't have an electronic system, like you're not using Square, you're not using QuickBooks, you're just doing everything by paper or collecting cash. You have to be able to show evidence of that. So, and there are multiple people that I know that just accept cash payments. And so they have invoicing and like a blank invoice. You have to keep those invoices so that is something that you have evidence of in the event that you're audited. But for your accountant, all he wants is end of the year totals. That's it. So the process is to go through your bank statements for the month and categorize all of these. Now I'm going to go back to the presentation so I can show you what you do with that. So this is your income statement. So how it works is you have 3 columns and your year to date. So let's say this was month July. So this is month 7. So I had been doing this, ideally I had been doing this every month up until month 7. So for the first month, 1 through 6, my rental sales were already at $85,000. Now for this month, for the month of July, for rental sales, I made $7,500. So this is me going, after I categorize everything on my bank statement, I'm now putting it in the operating income. So what you notice under operating income is I have 4 streams of income. So that's my rental sales with the petite seats. That's the e-commerce when someone buys a digital product or a course. That's the table sales when my husband builds the tables, and that's any kind of kids party planning that I do. So those are my 4 streams of income that allows me to create sales. So I'm listing those out because for me as the business owner, I want to see which one is profitable, which one I should just throw to the side and not spend energy on because it's just a waste of money. So back to the top. So if you see the 3rd column, the year to date. So again, these are the totals from month January to June. And each month I add them up. So now 2nd column is just for the period of July. So after I don't even know if that's the word. It's a word that they use in accountant when you add up everything. So my rental sales, it will be 7,500. I would add up these 4 streams of income to get my net sales for the month. And that net sale amount will be 11,550. Now, remember I talked about this cost of goods sold. This is when your receipts make a difference. And this is how I do receipts because again, I can go to a Hobby Lobby and see a chair and buy it. I can go to a Walmart and see a chair and buy it. Or I can just be buying fabric from Joann Fabrics to make a seat cushion. And I just have a random receipt. So what I do is when I'm shopping for stuff for business, I always, on the top of the receipt, I write down exactly what it is. Because sometimes when especially if you go to like Walmart, you'll have a whole list of stuff that you don't even remember by the end of the month what it is you purchased. So as soon as I get in my car or my van after I made a purchase, I'm writing down on the top of that receipt what it is. Now, if you have QuickBooks, you are able to take a picture on the app and upload the receipt. That's where I'm going toward in 2021, because what I have at the end of each month is a bag of receipts with notes on it. So I have to go through and categorize everything. With QuickBooks, it's done for you. Once you upload that picture, you took that picture of the receipt and you categorize, because you pre-select the categories, it goes exactly where you need it to go. So whatever I spent on the cost of goods goes here. So it was 5,000 because I basically bought a lot of products when it came down to the event planning side. So if a person wanted, flowers for their centerpieces or individualized gifts, I bought on Amazon. All of those costs to create the final product went in that category. And that's very important because again, it's a tax deduction. So whenever you're spending money to create your final product, you have to tally that up. So your gross income, so what you made at the end of the month would be your net sales minus how much you spent to create the raw products for your products. And that would be the 6,550. Any questions so far on that? Okay, so then when the next section of your income statement is your operating expenses. Now, I abbreviated this because I have a whole lot more expenses. And I'm sure if you have like a brick and mortar, you have a whole lot more expenses. But just for this purpose, to keep it nice and cute, I only listed 4 expenses. So whatever your expenses are for the month, and again, you've already categorized this in your bank statement. So you're just typing it in on your income statement, what it is. So for advertising, I spent $250. If you look at it, for the previous 6 months, I spent $3,500 on advertising. So that's Facebook ads, that's Instagram ads, that's business cards, that's t-shirts, anything that had to do with advertising, that's how much I spent for the month. Bank fees are another huge thing that people overlook when it comes to deductions. So let's say my bank account, and this happened a lot this year, my bank account went negative because I'm paying people back for canceling events. A bank account goes negative, they're hitting me with a $12 fee. So this month I had a whole lot of fees, a whole lot of negatives. I'm putting that there as an expense because at the end of the year, I'm gonna add all of those bank fees up. And as you see, for the first 6 months, it was already $1,500 and I'm deducting that. That's a deductible expense for a business owner. Now, when it comes down to auto, I included gas, parking, and tolls in that, $1,000. Miles is something that's a little bit different. You have to track your miles. I think right now the government gives you like 55 cents per mile. And basically for that, all I do is I look at where I started the year, like where my speedometer, is it the speedometer? Wherever my mileage is for my van is for the year, from the beginning to the end. And I work it out that way. It's no true formula. It's just approximation. I hope I said that right. But that's something that, you know, your accountant will give you more details about. And then finally, insurance. So for my liability insurance a month, I'm paying $350. And so I add those 4 expenses up and I get the total of $1,675. So those are the 2 sections that you have to do for your income statement. And where you want to know, or what's your, and that 4825 would be your gross income, the 6550 minus the 1675. So once you subtract those 2, you get the 4825. So that is the golden number on what you should have in your bank account when you're looking at what your final net income is before taxes. And I put before taxes because if you are doing a larger volume and you're paying your taxes quarterly, that is something that, you know, you have to be aware of. I'm not at that point yet. I don't think I'm making that much money per month where I'm paying taxes quarterly. I just pay them at the end if I have to pay. So any questions on your income statement? Okay. All right, so next we have this idea of commingling. Where are you guys? I wanna be able to see you. How many of you guys, just put a 1 in the chat if you have a separate business account for your business? I see 1 person. All right, so this is why this is important. Once you, cool, Rosanna just opened hers. Once you have registered your business and you want to say that you are a legit business, it's paramount that you not commingle. And commingling basically means you are not mixing your business money with your personal money. So having a separate bank account is paramount in making sure that you are doing the correct business practices. So I'm just gonna read through this really fast about some ways that people commingle in business. So the first is you have a bank account made payable to your business from a client and its deposit is into your personal account. So what that means is that, let's say you have a client, you have your Venmo account, right? And your Venmo account, people were paying you, but the money filters into your personal bank account. Now, that is that's commingling at its finest. And so many people who don't have business accounts do this so often. You never want any of your business revenue to go directly to your personal account. Now, I'm gonna put a caveat on that. Many people are operating as a sole proprietor and they have not registered their business as an LLC. So that happens a lot. But once you become an LLC and you register your business, you should not be mixing your personal finances with your business finances. So the next example is when you're making withdrawals from your business checking account to pay personal expenses without documentation. So let's say you have your baby's tuition to pay $400 for the month, or childcare, and you don't have the money in your personal account, but you just got somebody that paid an invoice for your business account, and you write the check from your business account directly into your personal account, but you don't put what it's for. So when you go to do your income statement at the end of the month, you just see a $400 check deduction, but you don't remember what it's for. So this is very important. If you do this, you have to write down what it was for. And truly, if that was the situation where you're paying for childcare, I would classify that as I guess it is a business expense because you were working, so you had to pay for it, but you want to just make sure that you are labeling it as a reason why. Because in the event that you are audited, you have to be very transparent about what that 400 was for, especially if it's a check, because it just lists as such. And sometimes you don't write in the memo section of the check what it was for. So that is an example of making an expense without documentation. So this is supposed to say depositing personal money to pay for a business expense. Now, I'm putting that as a asterisk because I do this all the time, especially this year. So for instance, when I said I had a lot of negatives in my bank account this year, especially March, April, May, before business picked up in June, I was constantly transferring money from my personal account to my business account to cover my insurance, because that was still coming in every month, to cover my car payment and to cover like random things like Google and my cell phone bill. So in that way, I put a caveat because this COVID just changed the landscape of every kind of businesses. The next one is using the same bank account for your business and personal needs. So again, just have separate bank accounts. It'll save you the headache of that commingling. Using a personal credit card for business expenses to get points. Now, again, I actually have a business credit card, but let's say you don't have an established business, you're just starting. It's gonna be very hard for you to get a business credit card without having business credit. So oftentimes you will buy that Cricut machine, you'll buy that bouncy house with your personal credit card. And in that way, until you have established business credit, it's okay. But once you have established business credit, you have to not use your personal credit card for those kinds of things. Moving money back and forth between your business and personal accounts without documentation. So the key here is you can do that. Just make sure you're keeping track of why you needed the money. And when it comes down to your income statement, you're explaining in the expense part, or even if you're taking the picture of the receipt, you're labeling it as what it was for. So any questions on commingling? All right. So this is just more information on why you should say no to commingling. So it says it looks more professional, established business credit. It's easier for bookkeeping, which is what I said. And in the event that you hire a bookkeeper or somebody on your staff to just do the day-to-day operations and to do those income statements for you, it makes it very simple. They don't have to come back and ask you, what was this $400 for? So they know exactly what it is everything was for. And it limits your liability when you're in business and you have your business and your personal separated. What they call that is piercing the corporate veil. So if you are commingling funds, you lose this protection of this liability, excuse me, especially when you have an LLC. So I'll give you a for instance. If, God forbid, someone was to sue me for petite seats, let's say I take an invoice and it's a big order. It doesn't even have to be a big order, but for whatever reason, someone was injured. Now I have insurance, but if they decide to sue me in civil court and I'm showing them my expense reports or my bank statements, and they see that I am constantly funneling in money in and out of a personal bank account, I am not keeping this business and personal separated, then the person who is suing me now has access to my personal funds, that personal account that I keep funneling in and out. So if I keep everything as far as business expenses on my business credit or my business bank account, they don't know what's happening in my personal. So I haven't pierced that corporate veil, and my liability is just under my LLC and just for my business. Once you start using personal money in your personal account, they now have access to sue your personal account and get money from that way. So that's the biggest overarching idea when it comes down to commingling. You don't want to do it because in the event that you are sued, you don't want anyone to have access to your personal assets. All righty. So I'm going to definitely send this PowerPoint to you guys, but these are the things that I do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And by doing this and by being very meticulous with these ideas, now a lot of this stuff, as I think it was Brandy who said, is there an electronic way to do this? Yes, there is. So if you're using QuickBooks, if you're using Square, if you're using Debsado, what's another? There are a whole lot of different softwares, but a lot of this stuff can be done for you and you just print the report very simply. But on a daily basis, I'm reviewing my cash status. So what that means is that I am logging into my business bank account and I'm checking to see what the balance is for that day. I'm opening my mail because, you know, I randomly get bills. Easy Pass is a huge bill for me that I'm constantly getting. And now that everything in New York is no toll operator, I'm constantly getting toll bills. So that's something I'm doing whenever I get mail. I'm filing and I'm organizing my receipts. So that's me going to a store, taking a picture, labeling what it's for, and uploading it. Well, again, I don't do that yet, but I will be doing that in this year to upload it to QuickBooks or whatever software you use to categorize it. And then recording any transactions. Now, this is not something that I have to do because in Square, where my invoices come in through, it's done automatically. But these are the 4 things that I do on almost a daily basis. When business is steady, I'll put that caveat. When business is steady, that's what I'm doing. Now, I haven't done that in a while, maybe since before Thanksgiving, because right now everything is very slow. But when business is steady, these are things that I'm doing every day. On a weekly basis, especially when mail is open, I'm paying bills, I'm sending out invoicing. Now, this is another star for me. So for me, a growth that I am working towards for this year is to either hire a virtual assistant to do my invoicing or to create a system where you can do the invoice, like fill out the invoice form and the estimate will be pre-filled. You know, it's a whole lot of, how do you call it? Programming, but there are rental companies that do this automatically and that person doesn't have to, you know, fill out the invoice. It's done through whatever software you're using. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm actually pricing the software that they have it, which is very expensive. It's like almost $350 a month versus just hiring someone to do it for me, like what I do each month. Every time I get an invoice, I just send it out. So I'm going back and doing the cost analysis for how much it comes down to, because right now, my biggest commodity is time. I don't have enough time to do anything. So if I can pay somebody to do something, then I end up winning in the end. So sending out invoices is something that I'm working towards. But again, that's something I do weekly. Review cash flow, including unpaid bills, which is also called accounts payable, unpaid invoices, accounts receivable. Again, unpaid invoices are something that's done directly in my Square app. So I don't have to do that. It self-generates an email to the client to pay by a specific date. When it comes to bills, again, most of my bills are automatically withdrawn from my business account. So it's not something that I really have to pay attention. Well, I do pay attention to, because I'll give you, for instance, on why you need to look at your bank account very frequently. So I went to Mexico for Thanksgiving and I got the text from Sprint saying, if you use the phone call, it's this amount of money. Long story short, I got a cell phone bill for like $400. Most of my monthly bills from Sprint are like $170. So I wasn't paying attention. They send me the email saying, this is your bank account. I mean, this is your bill, your $400, and it's gonna be deducted on, say, the 23rd. Now, typically I just ignore that. But because I knew that I went away and I was calling random people, I said, okay, let me make sure that that bill is not any different than what I was paying. And if it is, I have to move some money around. And I'll talk to you about what I mean by moving money around. So it's very important to always check your cash status in your bank account as you're doing business, because there are a whole, especially when you have automatic withdrawal for your bills, because there's always some things that can go left. Post-transaction, so expenses are recorded and cash is counted. That's the same thing I'm saying about check your cash status. The last thing is check and categorize all expenses. So that is what we just did in my bank account, where I printed it and I go through and I categorize everything. Now, if you were doing this digitally on the cash, QuickBooks, then you can do it that way. But for me, like I said before, I do that by hand each month. And then monthly, you're doing, looking at your credit card statements, checking your balance on your checkbook. Well, people don't really balance checkbooks anymore. So it's basically just looking at your bank balance. You're reviewing any overdue items. Like for me right now, I have an overdue item from, gosh, what is this thing called? Uline. So I ordered random things to send out gifts to like my top 10 clients, and they billed me, but I didn't pay yet. So that's something that I should have paid for on the 31st, but I'm gonna do that when I get off the this live with you. Those things are something that you have to constantly be aware of. What's overdue before the new month begins. Review inventory. So for me, my inventory, it's in my house. I know how much chairs I have, so it's not something that I do often, but if you have some kind of product that you are using for your business, like stationery, anything that, you know, needs to be replenished as you make your product, it's something that you need to be checking on a monthly basis. And again, review your income statement. So that means you're doing your income statement at the end of the month and making sure that what comes in is matching what your invoices say. You're backing up your accounting software. So that's, if you're using the QuickBooks, you're making sure that you've saved whatever it is you need. If you want to print your reports each month, that's something you can do. That if I were doing it, that's what I would do, because I don't trust technology. So if I'm doing something every month, I want to print it, have a hard copy, and just start new with the next month. So you want to view the total income, your expenditures, and your net profit for the month. Now, when business is heavy for me, I do this twice a month. I do it on the 15th and the 30th, or the 15th and the 1st, however you want to call it. And that is how I pay myself. So I'll get into exactly how I do that. But when I'm paying myself from my business account, I do it twice a month. So that is why it's something that I look at bi-monthly. Now, again, business is slow, so I haven't needed to do that. But when it was heavy, that is something I did twice a month to pay myself. And of course, the last thing is transfer funds to respective accounts. And I'll go into that in a minute, the different accounts that I have for business. So are there any questions on any of this? And I guess my question to you is there anything on here that you just feel like it's too much for where you are in business? No?
If you are just starting out and you don't have the money coming in, so you're basically paying for a lot of that out of your personal, what is the best way to keep it without commingling? Because technically you are going to have to commingle because you're using your personal money to kind of start off your business.
Yes. The biggest thing is just to document. So yes, you're using that one bank account, but every time you have an invoice come in, every time you have a, you're paying for the cost of goods and you have that receipt, just write on that receipt what it's for. So that at the end of the month, especially because you have a whole lot of transactions, you know exactly what was business and you know what it was for. So the big thing when you don't have a business account is just to document. So you can still register your, not register, you can still file your taxes as a sole proprietorship, but you have to make sure that you document when you're going through each month, you're documenting what was the exact business expense and what was a personal expense. That's it. Just label everything.
Thank you.
All right. Taxes, I'm just going to go through, I'll let you guys read this. So this is what I was just saying. Schedule C is that form 1040. That is when you are a registered business, an LLC, a S Corp, a corporation, incorporate. This is how you're filing all your deductions, your itemized list of business expenses on the Schedule C. Hold on, I'm skipping around here. Okay, this is where I want to be. So this is the typical deductions that you would do as a business. And this is something that, this is a short list, but this is something that as a business owner, you should be well aware of. Like you should know exactly what you can deduct, even if you don't have a business account, but you're going to do that 1040 Schedule C form with your accountant. You need to know what it is you can write off. So you have advertising and promotion, that's a given. Any kind of business license or permits that you're paying for, that's a given. If you're working from home, that's an expense. So say you bought this beautiful mirrored glass desk, a ring light, your laptop, those are business office expenses, a printer, all of those. When you go to Staples or Wayfair and you bought that stuff, even if it's from your personal account, you take that receipt and you write what it was for, so that when you go to your accountant at the end of the year, these are the receipts for this. This is how much I spent on home office equipment. So you can categorize that. Any dues or subscriptions is a huge one. Professional fees, travel. So I went to Mexico last month and I made sure that I took 2 chairs with me because I'm gonna write off that entire trip. I think I spent about $5,500. I'm writing all of that shit off. From where we ate at, to the flight, to the Airbnb, because I took my chairs, and the reason why we were there technically was to have a photo shoot. So travel and everything that I spent around that, I'm able to write off. That's the perk about being in business, is that typical expenses that you can't do on a personal level, you can definitely put in that Schedule C and write it off. Business, meals, and entertainment, another thing, write it off. Consultations are something that you can write off. So if you're looking for a business coach, if you are talking to anyone who is going to consult with your business, whether it be a contractor for your build out, for your brick and mortar, all of those things are tax deductible. And as I mentioned before, your bank fees. So with Amex, I have an annual fee that's deductible. My ATM fees every time, because my bank is in Baltimore, every time I get cash out in New York, it's $250. I'm writing all of that off at the end of the month. And what's good about that is on your bank statement, it tallies it for you. So you don't have to go through and add them up. At the end of the statement, it'll tell you how much you spent on fees. So that's something I put on there. Late payment fees, that's a bank fee that you can deduct as well. And we talked about auto expenses and mileage. Education. So this course that you spent $100 for is tax deductible. Any online courses, ebooks, workshops, webinars, what you spent for it, as long as you have that invoice that came from PayPal, it's deductible. Gifts. So as I mentioned before, you can spend about $25 per person per year for gifts. So my top clients, especially this year because it was so rocky, my top 10 clients, I bought a little box like candles. What did I put in there? Candles, like a charger, just small trinkets, but less than $25 per person. That's tax deductible. So I actually bought everything off of eBay. So all I really have to do is print those invoices from eBay, label what it was for, boom, I'm done. My insurance, subcontracting. So this was big for me when business was heavy, because I do most of all of my delivery, but whenever I outsource and I have to pay somebody to deliver for me, whatever I pay them, that subcontractor is deductible. The cost of goods, which is what we spoke about, any rental equipment. So if you have to rent a U-Haul to transport something, if you're an event planner, sorry?
Another, I've got a quick question. I'm in the process of purchasing a bouncy house from China. Yes. Do you foresee any problems? Do you foresee international issues? I'm going to place it in January. I didn't purchase yet. I was waiting till 2021. So I'm thinking in the next week or so to have it delivered in March, hopefully, fingers crossed.
This is what I'm going to tell you. I order all of my equipment at the end of February. China is on lockdown from February 1st to the 28th. Their factories basically closed for that whole month because of their Chinese New Year. So from January, let's give it Christmas, from December 25th to January 15th, the cost to ship is 30% more because, they can do that because they know people want their stuff, let's say the first week of March. So what I would recommend to you is you don't buy anything from China until, let's say, hold on, I'm looking at my calendar. I would start to reach out to the factories or whoever you're talking to. I would wait until like that last week of February 21st, because the pricing is going to be very different. I'll give you, for instance, I am ordering from India, right? Whole different country, still in Southeast Asia. But for me to get a container for January, it was $6,500. So I said, pause, how much is it if I order at the end of February? She says, $3,500. I said, hell no. But that is, if you don't know, nobody orders in February.
I wouldn't even have asked her, what's the difference if I order now versus, oh, wow. Okay. I'm already nervous about ordering anything from Alibaba, but I've heard, I got some contacts and they said Greenlight Go is a little shinier, but Greenlight Go is a cheaper version of what I normally get from California. But I thought it would have been a problem just tax-wise, but now we're just talking about shipping.
Yeah,
that's
shipping.
So
because are you doing door to door?
I'm not.
Okay,
that's more expensive.
It's gonna be negligible. It's gonna come to the port, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's not bad at all. The first time I did it, I went to the port and I was worried about taxes. I paid like $90 for tariffs and all of that. Coming to my door, I'm going to show you how much I spent. It was ridiculous. Okay. Like they were charging me $1,500 for like 5 chairs. It was crazy.
We're going to go to the port and rent a truck.
Because not only did they charge me because it was residential, they charged me like $350 just because he had to lower that thing on the back of the truck. It was crazy. But I didn't, there was, high COVID times. I was not trying to leave my house. So I paid for it, but yeah, go to the port. And then don't buy anything right now. I would wait until the end of February, because what they do is the factories usually have like a skeleton crew. They're still taking orders, but they won't start production. And you just get everything at the end of March.
Gotcha. Okay.
When they give you those quotes, when they give you those quotes for like the shipping and just for the port, then the tariffs are usually not too crazy. Because I've been scared that like once at the port, I'm gonna get like.
Are you importing into?
By Orlando.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna be crazy. It's gonna be less than $200 typically if you have less than a container full, because I bought in 50 of my crossback chairs, which was literally like 10 boxes. It was $90.
That's what I've been so worried about. But all right, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, it's not the tariffs. It's the shipping. That's the deal breaker for so many people. It's the shipping. Oops. All right, where's my little? So this was the two comparisons between the business bookkeeping, the online bookkeeping. So there's FreshBooks and then there's QuickBooks, which are the two popular ones. And again, I'll send this to you so you guys can compare what works for you. And like I said, I don't have experience with FreshBooks. I have used QuickBooks before with my previous business. And it's something that I am going to lean towards, because when business picks up, you don't have time to do income statements every month. You're barely sleeping. So it's like, I would rather just click the picture and go and let it do it itself. And then at the end of the month, print my report and then go that way. So these are the two most popular online bookkeeping. All right, so I'm going back and forth. Okay, bank accounts. Now, I'm gonna put a caveat on this because this is something that I didn't do until year 5 for my business. Because yes, I had a business account, but I've always had a business account when I had my previous business. But it wasn't until money started coming in, like in droves, where, like I told you, I was paying myself twice a month, that I started to do this. So what I have is I have a business checking account. And in that checking account, I have 3 different savings accounts. So if you think about them as buckets, I have 4 different buckets. Now, my main checking account is where all of the invoicing comes to. So whether people pay me through Cash App, Venmo, Square, it all comes to that business checking account. That's the main account. And if you see that, that is the operating expenses. That's in yellow, right? So any bill that I have, it goes out of that checking account. So what I was doing when business was steady is twice a month, at the beginning of the month and in the middle of the month, I would do like a pause. Wherever I was at, say if I had $3,000 in the account, I would start to move money according to these percentages. So whatever, let's say, hold on, I'm about to pull up my calculator so I can give you accurate numbers. So let's say at the beginning of the month, I have $3,000. I'm taking 25% of that and I am putting it in one of the checking accounts because that is my play money. That's how I'm paying myself from the net income in the bank account. So as I said, if it's $3,000, I am, why is my calculator not working? Sorry, I'm trying to do this the right way. Okay, so I'm taking from the 3,000, I'm taking 750 and I'm putting it into that that savings account, that first bucket or second bucket, because the first bucket is the checking. So the second bucket would be the first savings account. That's the 25% of whatever is there. That's the 750, I'm putting it there. Don't touch it. Then I'm looking at however my operating expenses are. So because I'm doing this twice a month, 38% of that $3,000 I'm putting towards my bills. So, and this is my number because I know how much I'm spending each month for my business. I know how much my insurance is. I know how much my car payment is. I know how much all of my advertising endeavors are. So 38% of that $3,000 or around that is going to pay bills. I'm gonna give you that number. So we're at 3,000 and 38% of that will be $1,140. So that's typically whatever I can pay with that $1,140 I'm paying. Let's say for whatever that time period, that first of the month, I have bills that are more than $1,140, I'm pausing. I am not gonna pay everything at that time. So what I would do is I'll pay as much as I can with my $1,140, and anything that is more than that, I'm paying at that next time I look at my bank account on the 15th. And I do that a lot with, say if I had, we're talking about shipping. So let's say I ordered the product and I spent $1,000, or let's say $1,200 or $1,140 just for the products. They're gonna send me a bill for shipping later in the month. So on the 15th, that is where that money would come from. So I'm able to split costs and not go over the percentage that I allotted for my operating expenses for that time of the month. Is that confusing? Okay, next is taxes. I have always operated at a loss for my business. I don't really understand what that means apart from the fact that that's what my accountant tells me. So, sorry, go ahead.
Money.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said, that's how you get your money.
Yes.
The only time a loss is good.
Yes. So let's say if I was raking in the millions, right? I would put 35% of whatever I make into this third pot for taxes, but I'm not there yet. So that's a make-believe number, but I still have the account, that bucket there. So the fourth account is profit. So we talk about business expenses. We talk about income and things like that. Profit to me is because whatever I'm putting in that business, whatever I make from the business, I'm putting right back. I pay myself the 25% twice a month when business is good. And then 2% of whatever I make for the month, I'm putting in a separate account. So I'm considering that like my business savings. So that is the money that I truly consider as profit, because everything else is just money coming in and out, constantly moving, constantly moving. It wasn't until this year that 2%, that profit went below zero, because I was constantly paying for canceled events. Like people would pay me and I'd pay for canceled events and no money was coming in. So this was the first year, 2020 is the first year where I had no profit, truly operating at a loss, because the money, you know, is no longer there. But when money was good, business was steady, that money that was in that profit account is what I consider my business savings. Now, owner's compensation, that's just my play money. Whatever I'm using to go shopping, you know, that's the money I transfer into my personal account for, you know, paying myself. But true profit for me is no more than 2% or 4% for the month, because all my money is coming in and out just to pay for the cost of doing business. So that is how I break apart my my business account. So it's 4 accounts, one main account, 3 different savings accounts, or 4 buckets in total. And like I said, now I'm doing this once a month, where I'm moving money around once a month. But when business is steady and money is constantly coming in, I was doing this twice a month to put everything according to the bucket for percentages. Now, I saw a quote, you know, one of these memes. I'm gonna read it to you. Let me find it. And it spoke exactly to this. Where are we? Okay, never mind. I can't find it. But basically what it said is, it's very hard to do business and not move money around in this way. If you keep everything in one pot, it's very hard to save, and it's very hard to show growth in business. You know, oftentimes when you have people in business, they spend, you know, the cost to do business, and they truly don't understand where their money is spending. Like for instance, if I made $150,000 last year, at the end of the year, I'm not seeing $150,000 unless I actively move money into these buckets. Because yes, on the books, my invoices average out 150, but with all of the moving and operating costs and, you know, paying myself and that money moving, I don't see the profit. So the idea of having buckets is very important, because it allows you to pause and take stock and put things purposefully in different categories, so you actually see the money better. All right, so I'm looking to see here what I missed. I don't think it was anything. All right, so the idea of maintaining thorough records is to help you keep track of your business performance, make informed decisions. So for everyone who is buying on, I'm gonna actually show you that. I said I would show you how much I spent last year on shipping. Everyone who is buying on AliExpress, let me see what I called it. I think it was inventory. But I just want you to understand how my brain operates. Like I write down everything. Hold on, did I already print this open this? No, I think it was called inventory. And this is something that I actually have to, oh, is it China? Oops. China chairs, China shopping list. Let's see. China order, nope, it's not that. But what I've done is every time I I made a purchase, I would write down how much I spent, the shipping, and compare it per year. Because what happens is we spend money, but we don't categorize like the cost of doing business. Like if I didn't know that you shouldn't order chairs right now, I would be spending twice as much for shipping. And that is something that it's like trial and error. Nobody outright tells you that, but just from me purchasing in December versus purchasing at the end of January, you know, I got what that entails. So, oh my gosh, I don't even know where it is. Shipping maybe. And this is my problem. I just randomly save things and I never put it in a category that makes sense so I can always come back and find it. Nope. Oh, well, I'll have to remember where the heck I put it. But basically what it had is what the chair was, how much I spent for taxes, how much I spent for the delivery to my door, and the quantity that I purchased. So when I go back and I purchase this year, I'm able to, you know, do a cost analysis to see if it makes sense to even do China. Because what oftentimes people look at is there are a lot of US vendors who sell kids chairs. Like you have Walmart, you have Amazon, you have these wholesalers that have like a direct factory in China in North Jersey that will sell you the chairs. And so those are things that I always constantly look at, because what I don't want to do is spend a shit ton of money on delivery. And then when I do the cost analysis, I paid like $35 per chair from China, when I could have just spent the extra $20 and went to North Jersey in Hackettstown, what is it called? Yeah, Hackensack, and bought the chair for $55 and got it immediately. So these are things that the idea of keeping track of records and your financial performance in order to make these informed decisions. It's the same thing with buying paper or buying any kind of product in bulk. You want to track how much you're spending each time you make that purchase so that you can price match. And most vendors, they'll give you a price, but if you know that you spent less 6 months ago or last year, you can negotiate. And I guess that's just a good business practice. Never accept the first offer, especially with these Chinese vendors, because they will get you for every bit of money. And what they're famous for is giving you one price. And then right when they're ready to box stuff up, tell you it's another fee for this and that. So you just want to be able to be well aware and well informed on what your bottom line is, like how much you're not going to go over, what your budget is, so you can stay within that budget. When it comes down to the tax regulations and when it comes down to deductions, you need to be well aware of what it is you can write off as a business owner, because there is a lot. And we can just see that in our current president, when I forget how much, it was less than like $800 he spent in taxes, because I'm sure he had a shit ton of deductions. So I always think of that when I'm doing businesses, whatever it is I'm spending, when I'm traveling, when I see something that I just have to have, I'm thinking in my head, how am I going to categorize that on my Schedule C to give to my accountant to write this shit off? Payroll, that's something I'm delving into this year. Even though COVID hit me heavy, I'm still looking to expand and do bigger things. So I'm going to have to take on staff and pay, you know, higher taxes, because in order for me to be at a higher level, I can't do everything myself, which is what I'm doing now. So payroll and tracking payroll and dispensing payroll, that is another system another software. Actually, Square does it, so I don't have to get another software. Square allows you to do payroll. So that's a reason why I did it. So that's my workshop for you guys. What I will send is I'll send this presentation to you. And I want to go over the files really fast that I sent to you so you guys can understand what you have. So this first one is an expense report. So this is something that you can do for the month. Now, of course, you can just do the income statement. You don't have to do separate expense reports. But if you want to be meticulous with it, you can write down what it was, categorize what it is, the description, notes, blah, blah, blah. I would advise for people who have a personal business account, a personal account that don't have the business account, to use something like this so that you know exactly what the deduction was from your bank account and what was business and what was not. So that at the end of the year, when you're doing your final numbers, you have everything here. So this is just specifically for people that don't do the income statement, but just want to do an expense report. What you see here is an itemized list of income, expenses. It's just a, what are you calling this? An Excel file that you can use, and you see the different expenses. Now, of course, this is just a lot. You may not have all of these, but these are just things that are common. And it is also broken down from personal to business. So again, this is something, if you have that personal account that you're using, you can, and especially if you're working from home, because if you see here, you have gas, electric, water. That's not necessarily a business expense when you're home, but I would still write it down, because your accountant will have some kind of formula to do how much of that you can take away. And I know it has to do with square footage. I don't know what the formula is, but just having the total you spent for on the personal side can inform your accountant on, how much to deduct. So this is what this chart is showing you. And again, you can download it, save it as a Excel sheet, and just write it in for the month. The next thing that I sent over to you was a timesheet. So this is something that, let's say you are an event planner. Now, the reason why I no longer plan is because I spent a lot of time and my time didn't equate to how much I was charging. So when I did a project, let's say somebody contacted me 6 weeks out. Instead of having it as per day, I would do it per week. So I would have the first 6 weeks. I would write down for project, if it's multiple projects, so if it's just one project, just project A or whoever the client is, I would write down baby shower. And for the week, how much time I spent doing whatever tasks were, wrapping napkins, ordering, tablecloths, however much time I spent on doing a task for that project for the week, for each week, I totaled it up and I put the number of hours. When you're talking about pricing, right? You always want to ask yourself, how much am I gonna pay myself per hour? So with this business that I'm doing now, I'm paying myself $100 an hour. Like that's the number I just put in the universe, and that's what I'm paying myself. So when let's say I have a client who wants the whole shebang. They want me to source balloons. They want me to source the cake. They want me basically to be the event planner. I am writing down how much time it's taking me to do everything. Now, because I've done this so long and I have that group of frienders that I can just reach out to, it doesn't take me a lot of time. So my hourly rate, say if it takes me 15 hours to do something and I'm charging $100, then I'm charging that client $1,500 to plan their 6-kid party event, right? So that's a quick way to think about pricing. How much you wanna make an hour, then you calculate how much it's taking you to do each project. Because what most people don't do is do this. They have no clue how much time it takes them to do a project. So what they're charging the client is just random. And what I found when I have that nitpicky client who was like, I'm not paying you $1,500 to plan a kid's party for 6 kids. Then I go through and I look and I show them, or this is on average. I spent this amount of time doing this, blah, 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 with the task, so that they understand you don't have to do it, but if you want to inform your client, they understand what you're worth and all of the steps it's taking you to get to this price. Now, my clients right now, they don't ask for this kind of stuff. They pay whatever my fee is. But in the beginning, I had to explain this. So that's what this weekly timesheet is, just for you as the business owner to understand how much your time is worth.
Question.
Yeah.
When you had clients, were you transparent with them? Would you let them know each and every step?
Nope.
This price-wise, right? That's none of their business.
What?
You're paying me and that's it, right?
This is the thing. How do you say this? I'm not even going to be politically correct. You are upselling everything as a business. Anybody can go on Amazon or go to Party City and buy stuff, right? You don't want to, you're not in business to just go shopping for somebody. You're not a personal shopper. So if you're buying something from Amazon, if you're buying something from Party City, you're upselling for you to get in your car to go drive somewhere to get it, or for you to be on your computer away from your family to do it. So you upsell everything. I don't know if you guys, one of my biggest clients is Cloud Fotis. She's a kids party planner in New York. Her upsell is 30%. So if she's buying something from Amazon, I don't care if it's a pack of plates. Hold on, I gotta, it's 90 degrees in here. I'm like sweating bullets. Let me turn that. So she is upselling everything. And when I have conversations with her, I always ask her, you know, we see these big New York party planners and we know where they got the stuff from, because if you're an AliExpress person like me, you know that they're paying pennies for this stuff. But they're charging the client 30, 50% more, because it's a luxury to have an event planner. It's a luxury to have basically somebody planning your kid's event for you or planning any kind of thing for you. So they have to pay for it. And that is why I wouldn't do an itemized invoice for them. I would give them this is the thing. Most people, so they come to you as a planner, you will outsource the balloons and they'll give you an invoice price. But the balloon person is not telling you how much it costs to buy a pack of balloons. So why do you feel like, you know, as a planner, you would do the same? So that's the thing. So that's, yeah, you don't give itemized invoices for that reason.
Sounds good.
Yeah. How many, do you guys have invoicing? Like a generic invoicing system?
I run a bouncy house company amongst other party items. I don't have an invoice. A lot of it is Cash App. I don't know if it's just the easy new thing, but they say they want it. I say, okay. You know, we conversate, we talk about price, and then money is sent. Yeah. And then on the back end, I guess I'm trying to figure out gas, and just maybe storage fees. And then there's some other things that, like, you're making me think like, oh, dang, I did pay like $100 for that. And didn't even think about to write it off, like advertise for Canva. I don't even think that is $12 a month that I'm paying. I want to stop paying.
And Canva sends invoicing. Check your Canva account. They have an invoice for you. They make it simple.
Well, so yeah. I think I'm going to try to get a little bit more professional with that.
And you know,
so that's kind of where it is.
It's not necessarily being professional. It's just making your life seamless so that you see where the money is going. That's the biggest thing. This is why I don't like Cash App. Cash App does not, one, they take fees, and I still can't figure out how the fees are calculated. So I do Cash App. I don't do Cash App. I do Venmo, Zelle, or Square. And everything is Square because I don't have to, my invoicing is hooked up to that. What you see here is a sample invoice, and that's something you can do on Windows, you can do on Excel. So however you want to do it, but it keeps you aware of how much money is how much money you have coming in. And it's almost like you can give it as a receipt for your client, because Cash App, I mean, of course, it shows you how much money was spent, but it doesn't necessarily give you a receipt.
I agree. It definitely doesn't give a receipt.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Have you thought about Square or PayPal?
I absolutely have PayPal as well as PayPal personal, PayPal business. Now, my husband owns a gym and he uses for every single client. And I think it's just, I didn't think I was big enough to try to get into like now I'm trying to get consistent.
Do Square, and this is what you do. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let him send you a referral code for Square. If he's using it, he can send you a referral code and get $1,000 off of his processing fees. So, girl, so you use it. Get him to send you the referral code, and you start it. It's not like a bank account where you have to have $25 in it. You just use it, because that system, the reports that you get from there, you don't have to do anything at the end of the year. It gives you your top client. I'm gonna read it to you because they just sent it to me for the year. I'm gonna tell you how it's friggin' amazing. And the processing fees are the same as PayPal. The reason why I wouldn't use PayPal is because PayPal is for the client. And if someone disputes something, they're gonna lock up your PayPal account. Square, you don't have that issue.
Been there. Now, a quick question with Square, is it just like Cash App? Like someone says, how do I pay you? And what?
So they have an app, so you can send it in, you need their email address or their phone number, and they can do it. People will always say to me, well, if people want to pay cash, they pay cash, but I will send an invoice and they'll say, I didn't get it. But I see that you opened it. Like, stop playing with me. They just, for whatever reason, I don't know, people were shaky about it. I don't get it. But I don't accept anything else because I can't track it. Like, as I'm thinking about it now, I have to go through to the Cash App and look at who paid me what, right? And then categorize it. I don't want to have to do that. Like with Square and PayPal and Venmo and Zelle, it's there. Okay, I'm gonna send, this is what they sent to me this morning. So it's an email that says Square report year at a glance. So 2020 is in the books. So it sends me my net sales for the year. It sends me how many transactions I had. It sends me the best day of the week, how many clients I served, the best month. And then if I click, it sends me also the best, my top selling item. So I have, you have to go in and put all your listed items and it'll tell you which one rented the best, my best sale day. And I can click and go through to see who's my top 10 clients. Another reason why I use Square is because I can do my email marketing with them. Every time somebody pays me and I get their email and their phone number and their address, I can then go and make a little whatever, and I have my email list built in. Like for business, email list is key. So many people spend time on Instagram and Facebook. If that shit were to disappear, your clients are gone with it. So Square, PayPal, they have the email list built in, and then they also have email marketing built in. So anytime I have a new product, I'm going onto Square, they have templates, I'm just sending it to them. Done.
My husband's been holding out apparently.
No, do it.
I am. I'm gonna look into it tonight.
Yes, and let him send you that code, that referral code, and he gets the benefit. Are there any other questions? I'm looking to see what else I didn't say.
I'm just here, like you mentioned the other day in your live, how you went into Clubhouse. I'm just here doing the same, getting my feet wet, listening, opening, you know.
Clubhouse is like, I'm addicted. So basically, I didn't know what it was until my sister was like, you got to get on Clubhouse. And I'm like, that's another freaking app. Who has time for that? But what I'm able to see is there's one group that I was on. Everyone in that group had a $10 million business, right? And it's just them talking. It's so different from,
big.
you know, the other business people, like I would never have access to those conversations outside of Clubhouse. You know what I mean? So you are able to search for different groups, and that conversation, what I pulled from that, it was 4 guys, all $10 million companies. And basically they're, I don't know if they call them angel investors or whatever, but they buy other companies. And 2 things that I pulled out. One, all of them, they link up once a year. There's no competition. It's all about collaboration. They share resources. That was the biggest thing they kept talking about. And then the other thing was they spend time doing research for business, for finances. So they study balance sheets for companies. They study the income statements for companies. So if they're, before they invest in anyone, you have to have those financial statements together. And so those were the things that I pulled out. Yeah. But yeah, Clubhouse gives you that access to people that you would never, and it's just me sitting on listening to them talk, but you would never have access to it. Right? Sorry?
You have to be invited. So if you don't know anybody.
Yes, but go on, and when I see your name, I'll invite you. Somebody random invited me. Like as soon as they saw me sign up, it comes. Oh. If you're in my email list, I think all of you would be in my email list because I emailed you before. I am able to invite you.
Done.
Yeah. And is there a certain time that you log into Clubhouse? How do you do it?
It's like 10 o'clock. So it's this one lady I follow. Her name is Davina. She does things around rental companies. And so she usually comes on at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. But again, it's for any topic. So you just are looking for somebody to follow that is in your niche, and you just see when they, it'll send you a notification. You see when they have a room, like right now, it comes on, I don't know if you can see that, but this is the Clubhouse feed, and it just randomly populates who's in it and what the topics are. So it'll come up on your home screen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yes, it's really cool. I'm bummed that I couldn't find that. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna email it to you, that China thing. Because it's very intimidating when you're buying stuff overseas, but there are nuances to follow.
Who are you telling? There's so many different factories and just trying to figure it out, and who's not going to steal your money and who's going to get you a good product.
Oh, listen, I was talking to Heather of Big Mama's Party Rentals yesterday, actually. And we FaceTimed each other, and she called me because she was trying to find a massage parlor because she has no self-care. So she finally decided to go, and we are talking, and she, I was asking her, I said, have you ordered a container this year yet? She was like, she just spent it. She just did it. And I said, cool. So when are you going to get the stuff? She said, by the end of this month. I said, okay, perfect. So you did it before Christmas. You're paying regular fees. She said that last year she spent $20,000 on a container and everything was wrong. Every item.
I know she was.
Like, where did you find them? She said on Instagram. I said, are you nuts? So she found a company on Instagram, and she went through the process. So I said, so how did you do it now? She said she did AliExpress because the vendors on AliExpress have that price assurance. So if things go left, they'll give you the cost of the goods back. And that's a plus that you don't, it's like buying from PayPal. They give you that insurance.
Wow, $20,000.
And everything is wrong. I said, girl, yeah. So it's really touch and go. Like whenever I'm ordering, I have a broker. I don't do it myself because I'm paying a hell of a lot of money. Like it's a whole lot more, but I just don't have the wherewithal to do it. Like I source the stuff and then I send everything to the broker, and they do all of the customs bonds and tariffs and whatever. But what I realized when I do it that way, I'm always giving them money, right? When I did it before with Alibaba and I picked it up from the port, it was taxing because I didn't know what to expect, but it was much easier.
When you say the broker, is that the same as ISF?
ISF is that it? No, so ISF is like the government agency, so to speak. And so you have brokerage. It's almost like when you're purchasing a home and you have the brokerage account, like, or purchasing an apartment, whatever it is. These people are there to do the negotiation for you with ISF. So you pay a continuous bond, or anytime. I have a continuous bond because I'm constantly bringing stuff in. But every time you make a purchase from any port, any international shipment, you have to pay a bond for it. And that's to cover the insurance to get to you. It's a fee to ISF, and there's a fee to somebody else. I can't remember who. But the brokerage fee is just like your liaison between the factory, ISF, and customs. That's it. So you don't have to do the negotiations. You don't have to talk to or pay ISF directly. You don't have to pay the tariffs directly. You're going through your broker.
Okay.
But it's like I said, it's a lot of money. It's much simpler to just do it through Alibaba, and they make it seamless.
I got a really quick question for you, and I don't want to take much of your time. So if you could just say, yes, Brandy, or I don't think so, Brandy. So this year, I've been sitting around twiddling thumbs, trying not to kill kids. And I'm thinking of my company starting a Nerf war or Among Us interactive experience. So from Alibaba, I am looking to purchase a maze and just kind of build around that, giving the parent the experience to be socially distant, and then have the kids kind of run around. And with your experience, do you foresee that being a go, or
in New Jersey?
Know. Yeah, I go New Jersey, New York. I
would try. New York City is going to be a no unless you're in Long Island.
Yeah.
The restrictions in New York City they change monthly. Jersey, you would have
a lot of
to do it, right? So you would have the space. It would be cheaper for you to have the maze, the blow up or whatever. But it's finicky because right now, what I'm finding is that, yes, people want a relief. So your marketing has to speak to the desire of the client. Like you have to say outright, you want to get rid of your kids, come to me. Right? Because otherwise people are going to be bombarded with the messages from the media that everything is shaky, everything has coronavirus. So you have to combat that and be very explicit in your message to parents. Like that's your target audience. This is the age group that I'm servicing. This is the price. Make it appeal to their need to get rid of their kids. And I think that will work.
Okay, this is like something to do at a birthday party, because although, I mean, we were going through Corona, surprisingly, people were still hiring me. Daycare centers were still like, can you come out? And I'm like, but for the ones that hired me, I'm hoping it's even more next year, hopefully. So, okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's all in your marketing and whatever messaging, you have to make sure you're talking directly to your ideal client with your marketing, and you'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions?
So Alibaba's the way to go?
Alibaba is the way to go. And they make it so that you don't have to go through an outside shipping agent. You can do everything through them. And it's seamless. Like as long as you have the proper vehicle to pick up from the port, you're saving money, because when you spend with like I did with the brokerage fee, you're paying their fee, which is like 15% more. Like for my continuous bonds, if I were to have done it solo, like through a third party, it would have been probably like $350. I paid them $500. Like I said before, upcharge everything. How do you say it? The reason why I did it that way was because I had things coming in from Vietnam. I had things coming in from China. I had things coming in from India. So it was like stuff everywhere. And it was coming to my house. So I didn't want to have to, like, I didn't know what to say to people. Like, this is not a business. So I let them handle it, and I just paid whatever I needed to pay because I didn't want it to be a big thing. But now, as I'm making a container order in March, yeah, no, I'm picking it up. I don't care if I have to rent one of those box trucks. I'm picking that shit up from Kearney or wherever the port is. Yeah. But I am going to send you guys an email with, I'm going to find this China stuff so I can show you how much money I spent with these brokerage fees. And I'm going to, if anything, if you have, I'm a texter. So my number is on Instagram. If you text me, I'll respond. If you DM me, I'll respond. And what I want to implore all of you to do is to at least every month do an income statement. I don't care if business is slow, still do it. And so when we reconvene in March, we can talk about taking that income statement and that cash flow statement and putting it into a balance sheet. So that's like stage 2. Whatever you're doing the first 3 months of the year will dictate the flow for the rest of the year. I really truly believe that. So whatever you start to do between January, February, March, you're going to either continue it or, you know, not do something for the rest of the year. And because everything is like a reset right now, this is the time to start to think about it.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I love you and I admire you so much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate the love. And I will definitely, so I'm going to follow up with an email, and I wish you all the best of luck for this first quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on.